Hello and welcome to Tommy Talks TV. I have one singular goal with this show, and that is to help you make smarter decisions so that you can have better relationships. I'd like to start again by saying a massive thank you. Thank you for all your likes and your shares and your comments on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. I really appreciate it because you're helping us spread the message further faster. So thank you very much indeed. I'd really like to say that if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I really want to encourage you to do so. I have some of my followers on Facebook saying, well, I haven't seen you in a while. You've not been posting for a while. The truth is I post very frequently, but because of the Facebook algorithms, you might not see my posts. But if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you will never miss any of the videos that I release. So I really encourage you, go subscribe and click the notifications button so that you don't miss anything that I'm sharing. Now, I'd like to go into what I want to share with you today. Welcome to the month of December 2021. We're so excited that God has been so faithful and has brought us this far. And I just felt that, in the month of December, what I would like to do is to share with you 3 choices that you need to make to reposition your marriage for 2022. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you for the next few weeks. So today I'm going to start with talking about prioritizing your marriage, choosing to prioritize your marriage. And I want to start with sort of like a coaching question. I want to ask you this. Do you still know the way to your spouse's heart? Do you still know the way to your spouse's heart? And I want that question to sink into your heart, as I go ahead. Because you see, when you first got married, you probably felt like you were an expert on your husband or your wife. You understood them, they understood you. There was a sense of connection that made you feel like, I really want to spend my life with this person forever. We are meant to be together forever. And because of that connection, you made the commitment to stay together. Now, the question is this: do you still feel that way? Do you know what is really happening in your spouse's inner world? Do you still know the way to your spouse's heart? Can you genuinely say that your spouse is your best friend? If you look back over 2021 and the way your marriage has played out over the last year, do you feel like you're drifting apart? I ask this question because it is so easy to drift apart in marriage. The natural trend for any marriage is towards distance, not towards intimacy. You see, in our first year of marriage, my husband and I read a book which made a huge impact on us, and has gone a long way to shape the way we relate in our marriage today. And that book was titled Pulling Together When You Are Pulled Apart. And the whole idea behind that book was essentially this: that because of all the pressures that we face in life, financial pressures, raising children, life commitments, and all the rest of that, the natural trajectory of any marriage is that we will become strangers over time unless we actively fight that tendency. So they were saying that, look, as a married couple, you have to make a choice to pull together when you are being pulled apart by this world. And that has really been a key thing that we have taken forward in the way we handle our marriage. Because when God gave the mandate for marriage, He made it very clear that marriage is not self-sustaining. It must be maintained with deliberate action, and that action must be continuous. So if you read in the book of Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24, and this was essentially when God was giving the mandate about marriage, or what marriage was supposed to be. I'll read it from the King James Version of the Bible, simply because I'm old school and I grew up studying King James Bible, and I memorized so many scriptures in King James. And also I like the way the King James puts this particular scripture. It says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." Now, this is a very familiar scripture, but I want us to think about it for a minute. You see why I like the King James? Because it has the leave and the cleave, which has a nice ring to it. So it says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and then shall cleave unto his wife." That word cleave is the Hebrew word dabak. And that word dabak means to be united, to hold fast, to keep, to cling to press hard, hard upon to overtake, which simply means that there must be pursuit involved in your marriage. It also means to be joined fast and to be stuck together. So you get the picture. So, it's not just a casual way of, okay, we're married, we're stuck together. No, but it's talking about holding fast to your spouse, keeping your spouse, clinging to your spouse, pressing hard upon your spouse, pursuing your spouse continually. So that is, essentially what God designed marriage to be. As God was simply saying that, marriage is going to take effort. A good marriage is going to take effort. If you just let it slide and just let it do its own thing, well, you will have the kind of marriage that people get when they just essentially take their marriage for granted. But if you really want a good marriage, then you've got to work at it. So, what is it that keeps couples close to each other year after year? And why do some couples feel like best friends after 30 years of marriage while others are, simply like strangers that are sharing a bed? It's not just a question of whether you married the right person or not. The real question is this: what are you doing daily as a couple to pull together? What are you doing daily as a couple to put together? I mean, I've been married for 25 years now, and I can testify honestly that, unless you have daily practices that, as a couple, you set in place, there are just so many pressures of life that would just lead you to, basically before you know it, you become strangers and you don't know how it happened. You just wake up and all of a sudden you're no longer particularly familiar with the person that you're sleeping next to at night. Dr. John Gottman, one of the leading authorities on marriage in this century, has a book that he titled The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. And in that book, he describes a concept which he calls love maps. So essentially, a love map is the part of your brain where you store all the relevant information about your partner's life. So that's the mental space where you store information about your spouse's hopes and dreams, about their values and their opinions, about their preferences and their passions, about their concerns and their vulnerabilities, all that sort of thing. Now, usually when we first get married, our love maps are pretty good because, when we were courting, we took a genuine interest in our partner. We spent hours talking, hours and hours, discovering each other, learning about each other. What does this person like? What don't they like? What are their dreams? What are their hopes? What are their aspirations? That sort of thing. So those love maps were basically how you navigated your way into your partner's heart time and time again. So the love map tells you this is what this person is all about. This is how to find your way to their heart. And those love maps were key. They were the key to your spouse's inner world, and they were the reason why you could touch your partner's heart in the deepest places where no one could. I'm sure somebody's already thinking back to that time when you first got married. But then the question is this: are your love maps getting outdated? Are they getting outdated? Do you still know, the way to your spouse's heart, or are you just making assumptions about them based on outdated information that you had about them when you first got married, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago? Because people change over time with new experiences, new responsibilities, new aspirations and all that. We change over time. We're all evolving, we're all growing, we're all developing. So I'm simply asking you, do you know what matters to your spouse today? Do you know how things are going on your spouse's job? Do you know what concerns your spouse currently has? Do you know what their current dreams are? Do you know what God has been saying to them lately? You see, we need to attentively update our knowledge of our spouse as they continue to grow and change. Because discovering your spouse is not it's not something that you just accomplish and that's the end of it. No, discovering your spouse is a lifelong process. It's a daily education. You see, who I am today is not who I was 25 years ago when I first got married. What I need from my husband today now is not exactly what I needed from him when we first got married. I have evolved, and so has he, and our needs have changed from season to season. And there is really only one way to stay in touch with who your spouse is today, and that is simply this: spend time giving them focused attention, listening to them, and sharing your innermost self. That's it. That's all that it takes. Spend time Give them your focused attention, listen to them, and share your innermost self as well, so that they get to know what's happening on the inside of you. That was how you developed your friendship at the start. That is how you're going to keep your friendship going throughout, all the challenges and the experiences of life. You see, because you need to be aware of all the major events in your spouse's life. How those things are affecting them, what pressures they're facing at the moment on the job, what their current aspirations are, what are they hoping to achieve. And the more you know about each other, the more you feel a strong connection and the more intimate your relationship will be. And you see, it's couples that stay in touch with the details of each other's lives that are more resilient when the storms of life come, because they are better able to support each other, because they understand each other and they know where each person is at that particular point in time. And a lot of the time I find that it's things that are legitimate and actually pretty important, that draw us away from actually having that time to spend with our spouse. Sometimes, it's that we've had children, and obviously you got to spend your time with your children, taking care of them, getting to know them, helping them, supporting them through life and all that. Sometimes that becomes a focus to the detriment of the marriage. At other times it's our career pursuits or our business pursuits, and that becomes an all-consuming factor that draws us away from the marriage. Sometimes it's just other commitments to family or friends or whatever it is, but then we find that at some point we really don't have time for our spouse, we really don't have time for our marriage any longer. You see, my thing is this: if you spend all your free time watching the news, socializing with your friends, or scrolling through social media, you will become an expert on world affairs and the details of other people's lives, and yet you'll be oblivious to your home affairs and the inner world of your spouse, the person that you sleep next to night after night. There are things that are going on the inside of them that you have no clue of, because you're simply not available. So in a nutshell, what I'm simply saying is this: what does it take to find your way back to your spouse's heart? It's this: spend time catching up daily. You're probably thinking, look, we're so busy, life is so challenging at the moment and all that. We've got to reprioritize. Choose to reprioritize your marriage. If you are too busy to find 30 minutes to catch up with your spouse on most days, then your life is probably out of order. And you've got to remember what the biblical order is. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave or be joined fast to, pursue his wife. So it works both ways. You're both pursuing each other's presence. You've got to prioritize your marriage so that you can find your way back to your spouse's heart. Well, I hope this has helped you. If this has helped you, then please leave me a message on Facebook, on Instagram, or YouTube, or wherever it is you're watching. And next time I'll be back with the next section of this teaching, where I'm talking about the three choices that you need to make to reprioritize your marriage for 2022. I really trust God that you will enter 2022 prepared to make the best of your marriage, so that the marriage can be a blessing to both of you. All right then, so see you next time. God bless you, and bye for now.